The Premier League only starts in a matter of days, and there are so much things to talk about. Now, this is the first time I will ever make a video like this. We're going to predict where I think all the Premier League teams will finish in this season of the 2020-2021. Who's going to get relegated? Who's going to win the league? All that. Let's discuss it in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show. Welcome back to another video. This is going to be a Premier League predictions video where we rank the worst team to the best team in the Premier League, where I think they'll finish, some aspects of their season and the transfers that they've had, and overall if that will improve them or not. Going to be very interesting. I hope you guys will like this video. Drop a like if you do. Subscribe if you are new as well. Please let me know in the comments below if I've missed anything, if there's room for improvement on these videos. I would absolutely love to know. But this is going to be the first time I've made a video like this, so hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Overall, this is going to be one of the best Premier League's seasons, at least on paper, that we've probably seen in years. The quality of the teams from the top to the bottom have taken a real step up, and I feel like it's going to be very, very difficult to actually swerve and make teams put in a good position, because a lot of these teams are good, and some of these teams actually will probably overachieve and some will underachieve. So this is just my opinion over the things that I've seen so far in this transfer window and where I think things will go towards the start, middle and end of the season. So let's start it off with number 20. Number 20, in my opinion, the last team, the relegation side, is going to be West Brom. Now, West Brom is a team that I at least find very defensive but do not have attacking attributes towards their game. I don't see West Brom, even when they were in the Premier League a few years ago, they don't score a lot of goals. And I think in this Premier League age, you need to score goals to win games. You can't just get away with getting with 1-0s and 2-1s and stuff like that. A lot of these teams are going to have to score a lot more. I don't think West Brom is a team that will be scoring a lot of goals in the Premier League season. Their tally is probably going to be one of the lowest, and in the end, that could definitely see them being the 20th place and in a relegation fight for the entire season ahead. At 19, I've gone with Aston Villa. Now, if history is going to repeat themselves, Aston Villa will find their way out of relegation by the hair of their skin. But this season, even with Jack Grealish, can they really repeat what they did only last season? It was so tough for them. From the start to the finish, it was very, very tough, and they had to pull some miraculous wins out towards the end to even get themselves safe. With Aston Villa and Jack Grealish, potentially a demotivated Jack Grealish from not getting his move to Manchester United or anywhere as of yet, if he stays, will they still end up getting above relegation? I just don't think so. I think that the only thing he could do is repeat what he's already done, and I don't see that happening. This Aston Villa side needs a lot more depth and star quality to help someone like Jack Grealish score a bunch of goals and defend the lead, and I don't see them getting through, to be honest. I see them finishing 19th. 18th, I've got Fulham. Now, Fulham have a very interesting striker. He's a massive guy. I think his name is Mitrovic. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I will put his photo in this video. But he is a person I really rate highly for Fulham. He's a big lad. He can bully people off the ball. He's good at his back to the goals, and I do think that in the end that will help them score a lot more goals. Now, you don't necessarily need to be pacey. It's not going to be too hard to defend a team like Fulham, and that's why I do see them being in a relegation battle and end up ultimately getting relegated. But deep down, I do think that they will finish 18th, but barely, and I do think there will be a couple of teams that will be in the same zone as them this season, and I really find it interesting to see where they're going to go. Number 17, I've actually gone with West Ham United. West Ham is a team that I feel have been very, very negative towards their team as of late, both ownership and team. So I don't see them having a very positive impact at the very beginning of their season, and I don't see them scoring a lot. They've got rid of young talent as well. A lot of people are not going to be happy with this season with West Ham, and this could end up being a whole situation where their owners will end up going. Now, in the end, West Ham, in my opinion, are probably better than 17th, but realistically, it's going to be too much for them, I do think. I think all the negativity coming towards their season will end up being their downfall. Now, moving on to the 16th position, I have gone with Leeds United. Very interesting. They have spent money. I just don't know if the style of play that they will have will end up resulting in wins over big teams, and especially teams that do like to attack as well. Leeds are similar to Norwich, in my opinion, with the way that they play. They love to attack. They play a certain way, and if that way doesn't work, there's not much of a plan B. Now, ultimately, if they do versus the bigger teams, they might have to shift and change because they don't really have the star power or quality to go and beat big teams on a regular basis, but they can cause problems, and that's why I see them staying in the Premier League and ultimately gradually improving. I don't see them dropping out of the Premier League this season or anytime soon, to be fair. A Man United rival Leeds are, so clearly I could be biased and send them to the relegation, but I do think there's more to Leeds than meets the eye, and that's why I've picked them at number 16. At number 15, I have got Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace, in my opinion, is not going to have a great season compared to their standards, because there's a potential of Zaha leaving Crystal Palace, and even if he doesn't, he seems very demotivated towards not getting a move for 2 years straight. In the end, Crystal Palace have some good players in their team, and they can reach form that goes beyond the number 15 spot. But deep down, I truly just can't see a way that they get any higher than this at the moment. Again, most of these mid-table teams are going to be very difficult to decipher which team will have a good season or not. But I don't see Crystal Palace, especially if they get rid of Zaha, being a significant force. They're not going to get relegated, but I don't think they're good enough to get any further than possibly within the bottom 10. So that's where I go with Crystal Palace. At number 14, I've gone with Brighton. Now, Brighton is a team that has always been consistently good for the Premier League. Defensively, they are compact. They usually create problems, and then they do tend to score a few goals here and there. They're not the greatest team in my opinion, but they do cause a lot of problems for teams that are looking to attack them. Their bread and butter is to keep things compact and make it difficult, and that's why a lot of teams do struggle when they face a team like Brighton. I do see them being an overall better team than the likes of a Fulham or a West Brom, even though they might play in similar ways. But I do see them being that better option, and that's why they are where they are. At number 13, I have picked Newcastle United. Now, I don't know the situation with all this owner stuff. It doesn't look like that's going through. But besides that, they have made decent signings this season. And they already were a team that were carrying a lot of confidence going into from last season to this season. There's still issues with their team, of course. But down the line, I do see them getting significantly better over time. They have made positive moves in this transfer window. I believe they signed Callum Wilson. So in the end, that is a very good signing for them, and I do see success in their future, and they will avoid relegation once again. They are a mid-table team. Going into number 12, I've picked Southampton. Southampton, again, is another team that is a bit hard to decipher their season. They are, in my opinion, a very unpredictable team. I don't see them being significantly bad. I definitely don't see them being anywhere near relegation, but I still don't know if they're going to actually push for a European spot or they're going to stay mid-table. And that's why I picked them at number 12, because I don't know. In my brain, I don't know exactly what their level is. So I am going to keep them in that position. Number 11, I've gone with Burnley. Now, Burnley is a team that, in my opinion, stunned a lot of people last season from where they are. They have two fantastic strikers that have been battling each other the entire year. And that's led to some very important victories for them against opposition they probably should not beat. But in the end, they are definitely a team on the rise. They do have great wingers as well. surprisingly, and this is something that I didn't even know until last season, they are a very decent attacking team. Probably don't get enough credit for that. But yeah, I see them definitely being mid-table, higher mid-table. 11th is probably where I would sit them at the moment. Going into the 10th position, I've gone with Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United is a team that was grasping top 4 last season for majority of the year and nearly got there, but unfortunately post-lockdown, when everybody had to return, they fell off very, very badly. Now they have lost one goalkeeper that was probably the best goalkeeper in England for a lot of people, and that's going to really affect them, in my opinion. Now the goalkeeper is not the most important position, but in the end, a good goalkeeper will help you win games, and maybe they will lose a little bit more games now, not knowing what quality of goalkeeper they have in their possession. Yes, they have signed a new goalkeeper, but will he be better? That's going to be very interesting to see. I do see them falling off a little bit, but again, they have a style of play that does cause problems, especially for the lower ranked teams. They have beat some upper teams as well. They do seem to be in a very comfortable position to maintain their spot in the Premier League. Oof, this is difficult now. We're getting into the hard part. Number 9, I've gone with Everton. Everton are a team that could make the European competitions or can stay mid-table. I have no idea. They have a very good manager now, and they have made very, very good signings that I feel like a lot of teams will really underrate. But will the signings work? Will the manager work with this type of team? Everton are a team that are really, really trying to get aspirations. And in my opinion, they could definitely beat the likes of a Wolves or even a Spurs and make their way beyond those teams. But I just don't see it happening at this point in time because they need to do more. I feel like, yes, they've made very good signings this season, but I think their team as a whole is not really good enough at the moment to compete with the top of the top, and they're going to have to continue working. But I do see very, very positive moves, positive signs from Everton, their fans, and I feel like their players, and I do think that they will have a positive impact for years to come. But this time, at this year, I just don't see them getting further than 9th position. Number 8. And this is going to shock a lot of people, and I could be extremely wrong when I say this, but someone has to finish 8th. And I think the Tottenham Hotspurs will finish 8th in the Premier League. They're the team that I see drastically falling. Let me give you a reason why. At least this is my understanding of the situation. With Pochettino getting sacked from Spurs, in my opinion, that was a mistake because Spurs are a good defensive side. So bringing Jose Mourinho, who is already a defensive coach, into a team that is good defensively is a good sign. But again, I don't know how much attacking outlets they will have. Yes, they have Bergwijn now, they have Harry Kane, and they have Son, they have Dele Alli. There's attacking players in that team, don't get me wrong. But will the structure of Jose Mourinho and the way that he structures his team really benefit those players to the fullest extent? I don't know. After what I've seen last season, Spurs have been extremely up and down. They've beaten teams very convincingly, but then they've lost to teams very, 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 very worse than them. So in my opinion, I do see this being another drop-off year for them. And I don't know if their players will come into this motivated. I don't know if their players will actually do everything that is needed of them. Will Harry Kane stay healthy the whole year? Will Son be able to contribute off the wings? Look, they've made good signings. I believe they've signed Doherty as well. Good player. And they could very well make it into the European competitions. I'm not trying to disrespect their team, but I do feel like a team will drop off. And I feel like Spurs are the most likely team that will drop off. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I really like Spurs as a team, but I just see that being the situation. And I know they'll be very upset that I picked Arsenal over them. But in the end, we'll wait and see. I'd love to be proven wrong on that. Next up, at the 7th position, I've picked Wolves. Wolves have a very consistent team. They recently just got their highest signing in history in an 18-year-old striker. He's going to do very well for them, in my opinion. Another Portuguese player, and it's going to be interesting to see where he fits with the entire attack. Now, again, Wolves cause a lot of problems, but they do have very great counter-attacking football, and I do see them pretty much maintaining their position. I don't see them going anywhere above, but I do see them slightly dropping off in performances, but they should have enough to maintain and keep a European competition spot with the 7th pick. Now, that's controversial because I've got in the 6th pick, I've gone with Arsenal. Arsenal are a team that, in my opinion, are extremely tough to give a ranking of. They could finish anywhere from 9th to 5th, or even try and make strides for top 4. I don't see that happening yet, but what I have seen from Arsenal is very positive signs. However, their team as a whole, I feel like they will struggle against sides that are not the same level as them. A team like a Burnley, a team like a Southampton, a team like a Newcastle might give Arsenal a lot of struggle because they've performed very well against the bigger teams. They've beaten Manchester City, they've beaten Liverpool, they've beaten Chelsea, and I think they've beaten Manchester United, or they might have drawn with them. So they have beaten teams that are above them in stature at the moment. However, how will they perform against the lower teams? It's always the inconsistencies. They do have 2 centre-back pairings now that are relatively new. They've got Gabriel, they already had a centre-back. David Luiz is still in this team as well. Defensively is going to be the big question mark for them. If they can perform defensively, I see them going very positive this year. However, if they cannot sort their defense out this season, then I do see them falling away, just like I see Tottenham falling away. But that's the question mark. I really rate Arteta as a manager, and I think that he will do very well for Arsenal. I think Arsenal have already seen the benefits of his playing style, and it really suits them. And I think if they can have a healthy squad and a squad that will perform defensively, I can only see positive things. That's coming from a Man United fan. You can't hate me for that, man. I've given a lot of props for Arsenal towards the end of the season, and I think they will have a very good start to this season as well. Next up at 5th position, I've gone with Leicester City, just where they finished before. Leicester City were struck with injuries, heavily struck with injuries towards the end of the season, and that's kind of what made them fall from 3rd to 5th. Now, if everybody stays healthy, and I don't see them having a big injury effect the way that they had against the sides once they finished towards the end of the Premier League, as I said before. Obviously, Ben Chilwell not being a Leicester City player is going to be very interesting because they're going to have to make a replacement, and they're going to have to try and get something from that left-hand side now, attacking-wise, that they will lose in Chilwell, and that could potentially see them drop. But in my opinion, he wasn't the most important player on that team, and the reason why is their defensive midfielder and Diddy, and their midfield as a whole is, my opinion, what has carried Leicester to where they are today. And even with losing of a left back, I think Leicester are more than capable of finishing in 5th. I do see them being a great counter-attacking team, causing problems. If Jamie Vardy has a very similar season to the one he had last season, big things for Leicester City. However, you could say that they could drop because they have now European football. They have the Europa League. That's going to be very hard for them. And same with Arsenal as well. Something that I don't think Spurs have is that could potentially see them have an advantage is, of course, the Europa League being a contributor. Now, I haven't really added the Europa League into these because I do feel like some of these teams will have the depth. Leicester, in my opinion, will probably not have the depth, and that could see them fall, but maybe I'm wrong. Again, it's going to be very interesting. I'm really intrigued to see where Leicester City will go. They could fall. I'm kind of thinking of it in my head now, but I've made the decision. I'm going to stand by it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. The top 4 now, ladies and gentlemen. Who's going to be in the top 4? You know the teams, but what is the order? At 4th, I've gone with Manchester United, my team, the Red Devils. And here is the reason why. Manchester United, at this point, we do not know where the direction of this team is in terms of transfers. We have Jadon Sancho lurking, but we don't know if that is a deal that's even possible at this time. You have a majority of the people saying it's not going to happen, but then you have a few people that say it's definitely going to happen. So in the end, I do not know where Sancho lies in terms of our plans. Donny van de Beek, a tremendous player, one of the best signings for the Premier League so far, and in my opinion, will have a very strong impact, and I do see overall all 4 teams having significantly better seasons than last season. The top 4 teams, in my opinion, will be far and away top 4. It won't be very close from 4th to 5th, at least in my opinion. So Manchester United will probably finish 4th because we do need improvements, and I don't know if those improvements will come. The squad depth is still an issue in many positions, and if we can get the right players, then I do see us topping Chelsea. But at the sake of this video, I can't promise you that any of those things will happen. So I'm not going to say that Man United will finish over Chelsea at the moment. But if Sancho comes in, we get a centre back, we get a left back, we get a midfielder, at least some of them. I'm not saying get all of them, but if we get some of those positions filled, then we definitely have a better chance of finishing third, in my opinion. But for the meantime, for the sake of when this video is being recorded, none of those things have happened yet except for Van der Beek. So I'm going to say that we finish comfortably fourth, and fifth won't really come near us. That's, at least in my opinion, I think all the top four will have a very hard go at it for the Premier League. Obviously, only one can win it. At third, they're pretty much the team that's been compared to us a lot, but have done a lot of business in this transfer window. I've picked Chelsea to finish third. Look at the signings they have had. Now, there is a big issue with this, but I'm going to say who the signings are and if they're going to be good or not. So they have made a Ziyech signing. In my opinion, he might struggle a little bit towards the start of the season. Timo Werner, a goal scorer, very versatile. He will do just fine. They also signed Ben Chilwell, a player of the left back position, very good attacking player. Defensively, it's still a little bit left for him to work on. You also have Havertz in the midfield. But very, very good signing. Again, a player that could potentially struggle with the pace of the Premier League, but ultimately will probably be their best player going into the future years. You also have Thiago Silva, a very versatile and very good centre-back. Aging centre-back, might have something left to prove, might struggle in the Premier League, but in the end, those are the players that Chelsea have signed. Chelsea have signed at least 5 players in this transfer window, maybe even more, maybe 6, and they have signed a few players that probably won't contribute but are future players going into this window. They have done tremendous business. The one thing I have to say is, doing all that business, basically buying yourself an entire new first team, will that destroy the chemistry in the first part of the season? That's the biggest concern for Chelsea. If they cannot get all of their team on the same page at the very beginning of the season, they could potentially struggle. But at the end of the season, when they all have a few months under their belt, they're going to steamroll a lot of Premier League competitions, in my opinion. They have the quality, they now have the depth. In my opinion, they have done tremendous business, and I do see them on the way up. It's clear that the ambition of that club is to win the Premier League. So in my opinion, they will be third, probably close to Man City. But in my opinion, that's where I think Chelsea will finish. Obviously, second, as I just mentioned, will be Manchester City. They've made major strides in improving their defense. Obviously, potential of Koulibaly coming in, that still has not been really linked. But if it does happen, and that's a great signing. But they've got Nathan Ake as well. They also have a player called Torres, who's a fantastic cheap buy. Ake, a player that could definitely improve their defense. Overall, he looks like a good player. There's still potential for him to flop at a big side, but most likely everyone fully believes that he will do well with Man City, walk into that team, and him and Laporte could potentially be a devastating partnership for the rest of the league. However, what makes Manchester City different to Liverpool, in my opinion, is that Man City don't really have a tough time with teams parking the bus against them and hitting them on the break. You've seen it in the Champions League. You've seen it with games against Manchester United, even some lower-ranked teams. They seem to struggle when teams really compact their defense and make them pass around. That's their game, passing around, creating little gaps to get into. However, if a team blocks all those gaps or blocks all those passes, they don't really have another way to actually say, I'm going to get through this defense. They don't have players that will just run through their defense or create a free kick or even counterattack. They're not that type of team, and I do think if you can't have adaptive styles, then you won't have a successful plan B, and your plan A will work most of the time, but there will be those sometimes that it just won't work, and those sometimes will cost you the league. So in my opinion, Manchester City will finish second, and of course, sad to say it, but first, and in my opinion, will comfortably repeat their Premier League success will be Liverpool. Liverpool already have a fantastic team. They're on the verge of signing Thiago, which will majorly improve their midfield because their midfield is not that good. But in the end, a hard-working midfield will be the talented midfield any day of the week. And in the end, they're going to get some quality added to that midfield. They're only going to get better, in my opinion. Now, this might just be me, but I don't think Salah is going to have a tremendous season compared to last season or even the season before that, which was his best. He might get a little bit worse, but if he doesn't, then Liverpool are comfortable. If Salah doesn't perform up to standards, in my opinion, he could definitely be the reason this title could end up being very close. But Liverpool, in my opinion, have more than enough and will come through trying to decimate the league, because I feel like with fans, they will definitely want to win the league with fans. I think they were hard done by not having any fans at their stadium when they've won it, and I think they're going to look to change that for the next season. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. This is my Premier League predictions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have a wonderful day. I will see you in another Premier League video. Take care.